so they can stay alive?
Yeah.
Those ones in the ground get plenty of water from the ground. It's the ones in the pots that need extra water. How about show me how to water the pots? How do you do it? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Right up close, right? The water right in under the plants. And you want to picture how deep the water is percolating down into the soil because it needs to go nice and deep. Go get the next pot. When watering planter boxes, you want to make sure to water it deeply so that there is water all through the soil. And how you know when you've made it all the way through the soil is it'll start dripping out the bottom. There we go. It's starting to drip out the bottom. It's taking quite a bit of time to get through here because it's been raining so much that I haven't actually watered in a few days. This soil's quite dry because it's under the eaves of my house. So it doesn't get watered from the rain like all the rest of my plants do. It's also important when watering to have a gentle stream of water. Don't use anything harsh or fast because it'll tear up the leaves or knock over the plants. I love these water wands with lots of different drops. It's just like rain. This particular wand also has settings of a jet stream and fan and all kinds of other shapes. Those are not necessary for simply watering plants, but they're great for things like washing your car. So when watering flowers in pony packs, it's very, very important to get every individual pony, especially the corners, because for some reason the corners dry up faster than everything else. It probably mostly has to do with in the corners the water runs off. It's more likely to run off than run into the soil. It's also the area that people tend to skip over. It gets the least amount of overlap, but also it probably gets hit with the most heat and wind and other weather. So for one reason or another, the corner pots always dry out super fast. So if you have a flat of ponies, see this one here, everything else is nice and watered. It was watered by the rain, but these ones on the edge are still getting sad and start to dry up. So I'm going to water them once and then come back to them when I'm done watering everything because I want to make sure they have a good drink. But yeah, if you've just got a flat of ponies that you haven't gotten into the ground yet for whatever reason, you gotta keep them watered. These little tiny packs do not hold much moisture, so the plants won't survive long without being watered. You want to just go slow and steady, straight lines up and down, so you make sure to get all of the little ponies. If your hose has been sitting outside on a super sunny day, you don't want to just turn the water on and start spraying plants because the water inside the hose can be boiling hot. So take your hand and test the temperature of the water before you put it on your plants and make sure you're getting cool, fresh water from the inside of the house, from the line, not from the hose that's been sitting out in the heat all day. A couple other fun notes about watering. So I have expandable hoses. I absolutely love them. And I have a water timer right there that's usually just set to on so that I can turn it on and off whenever I want to. Or I can set a number of minutes that I want the water to be on. So that's all screwed into the faucet. An expandable hose, I love these because they're so lightweight, they're easy to carry around and easy to manipulate, and they don't kink. It's probably the best thing about them. They don't kink, but you cannot let pressure build up in these hoses because it's literally a balloon inside a sleeve and it will pop. So you don't want a lot of pressure to build up. You always have to have this end, the outgoing end, always has to be open. So like this wand has a close switch on it. Never let it close when there's pressure coming from the faucet. Otherwise you'll blow up your hose. And they can't be fixed. You have to just buy a new one. But the other fun thing I have in my watering setup is quick connectors. So each one of my attachments, my water wand and my broadcast sprinkler, they have these little ends screwed in. It's just screwed in there just like a hose would be. And I can just simply pull on this and it pulls right out. And I can just simply, again, pull on it while I push it onto the hose, and it snaps right on. So I can switch attachments super fast, which saves me a lot of time and struggle. I don't have to screw the hose on and off of different attachments to change what I'm doing. I have the same setup in my backyard, so I can use this same water wand in the backyard if I want to. And I really like this system, how I have it set up right now. It just makes things really easy. These broadcast sprinklers, I really like them because they're fully adjustable. This one's a few years old. It's starting to get, the plastic here is starting to get a little brittle. But, I mean, it's lasted me a few years, and I think it cost $20, so I'd say it was worth it. But it's fully adjustable. I can make the spray more narrow by sliding this little slider this way, or I can make it more wide by sliding it this way. It broadcasts back and forth, covers a huge area all at once, and then I can adjust the amount of water that I want coming out of it too. More water, less water, so it covers a larger area. And I can also say, oh, I only want it to spray this far instead of the whole range. I could make it a really small range of where I want the fan to hit. So that's all I have for the setup in my yard for my watering, since I don't have an automatic sprinkler system. There was one at one time in this house. Like, there's the box, that's the control box for the valves, but it doesn't work. So one of these days we'll get around to having a sprinkler company come in and fix it. But that's not my cup of tea, so I don't do that. So I have the exact same setup in the backyard as I have in the front. The only difference is the hose here, I have a regular hose for a few feet, because this one, even though it expands to 50 feet, doesn't quite reach the other end of my yard. So I put the hard hose attached to the wall because this one can handle pressure. And at every joint, like this one, if you have an expandable hose on both sides, the hose that has the water coming through it first, when the water hits here, it'll start to build up. As long as this is open, it shouldn't pop, but it will build up. And so I put the stronger hose closer to the house where the water's coming from. And also because then I don't have to drag it across the yard, I drag the lightweight one. And then I also have a much smaller water wand back here because this is all I really need. But then I have the same type of adjuster. This one, it did break. I've only had this one a year and it did snap. But you can adjust each side of the width part independently from the other side, so that's pretty neat. But I have the same quick connecting adapters on everything. Here's this one. This one has a nifty other feature. It stops the water. When you pull it off, if there's nothing attached in here, it triggers a valve that stops water from coming out, which can be really cool, but it's also a problem with this type of hose. So I have to always make sure when I'm changing my attachments that I either do it really quickly or that I turn the water off when I change things. But I have the same type of timer. It's always just set to on for the most part, but if I wanted to water the lawn for 30 or 45 minutes and step away so that I don't have to remember to turn the water off, because I'm really bad at doing that, I can set it to whatever time I want. But otherwise I just leave it turned on. So there we go.